Roland Miller from Development Promotions, and thanks for joining us for Back to Cruising. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be catching up with the brands that we represent here in the South African market, just to find out what it's like getting back to cruising. First up, we've got Oceania Cruises, a small ship cruising brand that's known for the finest cuisine at sea. And today we've got Bernard Carter here, SVP and Managing Director at Oceania Cruises. Thank you very much for joining us, Bernie. Appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you, Roland. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, cool. Bernard, obviously you returned just from your first cruise, back from about a year and a half for not cruising, doing Zoom meetings and everything. You saw the team properly for the first time in a couple of months on board. Tell us what were you looking forward to, I think the most, when you took that first step on board?
I think it has to be meeting the crew again. Everybody knows that I love my food, and that is, that's my own pet little thing. But at the same time, the first thing that I thought about as I was walking up the gangway was, I'm actually going to see the crew again. And for me, it's not just seeing them; it's seeing the you could see the smiles in their eyes, because of course they were wearing masks. You could see from the way their eyes glinted that they were really happy to see us. And I think as well, the other thing for me is there are so many of the key management staff were on board as well. So maitre d's, general managers, all the chefs, and they were basically doing the testing of the menus to make sure everything was right, because we've got a whole host of new dishes and new menus as well. So they were all on board. So I kept meeting people that I've met over the last 15, 16 years. And it was very emotional. It was hard not to actually go up and hug somebody, because obviously protocol didn't allow. But it was really genuinely like seeing family again after a long time away. And throughout the preview cruise that we did, so we did one for one night, and then we did another for 3 nights, and I got on the day before that, so I was on for 5 in total. And there wasn't a single time that you didn't hear the other participants on the cruises saying how amazed they were, how friendly and professional the staff were. There were, despite obviously wearing the masks, they were very genuine, and our staff, it's like they welcome people on board the ships as if they're welcoming people into their own homes, and that hadn't changed at all. And I think what struck me most out of the whole experience was it felt like they just finished a cruise previously and we were just boarding the next cruise. It didn't feel like they'd been without guests for 18 months. You're talking about hardware that's been laid up for 18 months, crew that have been laid up for 18 months. And for them to come back and deliver what they did, it didn't just blow me away, it blew everybody away. Yeah.
No, I think that's amazing. Just feeling like nothing's disappeared or nothing stopped or whatever. I think that's just awesome to experience that. And I obviously understand the emotional part of it, which was a really big part of everything, I think. Now you touched on about mask wearing and social distancing and protocols and things. So what's changed? If you can, we all know about the protocols and the safety features and things, but for you, what personally struck you as this new form of cruising?
I think what struck me most is what hasn't changed. I think that was the biggest thing, because we've got a lot of the air filtration processes which make it a safer environment than anywhere else that you can travel. We've got a combination of an air cleaning processes that clean the air every 30 minutes. We've got a one-way air conditioning system which brings air in and then pushes it out, so it doesn't circulate it around the ship. We've also got the HEPA filters, the medical grade HEPA filters. All of these are designed to catch and eradicate the pathogens, including the COVID pathogen. So it's the things that we've done behind the scenes that mean that we can offer as close as possible to a regular experience. And our standard offering, when we're cruising in the US, for instance, at the moment under US regulations, we could actually cruise with a full ship in full restaurant capacities, and without the need to wear masks, because everybody on our ships, guests and crew, are fully vaccinated. Now, we're sailing in Europe at the moment, so we obviously follow the European guidelines, and that does mean reduced restaurant capacity, reduced capacity on board the ships, and then wearing masks when you're not eating or drinking. And again, walking around the ship, because we're living in this world now where you walk down the street and people are wearing masks, it doesn't feel strange to be walking around the ship wearing a mask. And again, when you're dining, to have the tables spaced out and to have restrictions on numbers on tables, because luckily we have so many specialty restaurants and we have a lovely large grand dining room on our ships. We have the space to be able to accommodate, because we have enough space per guest in the first place. And with a reduced capacity, it means that we can work like that. Now, interestingly, back in 2019, before the pandemic arrived, we'd introduced tablets into the wait staff ordering process. So literally, they tap in what you want. It goes wirelessly to the kitchens, and then they don't have to go there, give the order, come back again. There's much less traffic through the kitchens and through the restaurants, and it means that everybody gets a more relaxed experience, but it's also a safer experience. And also, when you look at the buffet, all the cruise lines now moving forward, all buffets will be hand served by or hand picked by the crew. I think there were, I can't really think of any other cruise lines at the time. Back before the pandemic, there might have been one or two that, like us, the buffet, the staff always picked it for us anyway, and then they hand you your plate and you take it to your table. And it makes sense that the rest of the industry actually now adopts this policy, because it is the safest way to provide it while still giving people that choice that they always get in the buffet. So I think the big thing here is that the cruise line industry as a whole has found the way to adapt our offering in order that guests can get as close to the signature experience that they're expecting with a minimal amount of disruption. Obviously, hand sanitizers everywhere, you're wearing the masks. I think the biggest thing we saw at the very beginning was a few ports having to be changed on the cruise that we had after the preview cruise. This is something that we're all working through, and I know it's something that will ease as time goes by, because the countries of the world are working together to find a way to avoid as much disruption as we're currently all going through.
Yeah, definitely.
And the countries are being safe. The US has got their policies at the moment. Europe has their policies. Every country has their own individual policies as well. And it's just making sure that everybody is safe, primarily. That's the first thing you have to look at. And then that we can travel to these countries without putting any of those countries and islands and whatever in danger, because those communities rely on tourism, a lot of them, in many parts of the world. And we'd like to take that tourism back to them, but in a totally safe manner. Yeah,
no, definitely. Everybody needs to stay safe. And if it happens, if it changes, I don't think it will ever take away from the experience in total. What was the boarding process like? I know there's PCR testing involved and everybody needs to be vaccinated, but for you on the ground, how did that work?
It was very simple, actually. And I know that we've now introduced online check-in. So as part of the whole boarding process, a lot of the information can be passed in advance so that people do it before they travel. And when you get to the port, so what we're saying is we're not making pre-travel testing mandatory, but we're saying because we test at embarkation, and the PCR testing is a very sensitive form of testing. If somebody's had COVID, in the last 90 days, for instance, and you have a PCR test, it can show residual from the infection. So what we ask people to do is just to be mindful and have a test at home before you come away. It prevents you having to travel all that way to then get to a situation where you could, in a very rare case, not be able to board. So it's just taking some precautions. But the process itself, people are going to have windows that they can check in through. So they get to choose the window they check in. And it means that you have a relatively low number of people arriving at different times. People come in on different flights throughout the day. And when they get to the port, they are taken into an area where you get a little barcode. You show your code that you've had from your check-in process. They link the two. They send you to one of the booths. You have the test very quickly. And in fact, I have to say, these guys are doing it so often that they know how to do it right, and it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
When I do it to myself, I make my eyes water, and yeah. So it's a very clean and a very civilized way that they handle it. They're very good. So you have that test. And now, if somebody does test positive when they get to the ship, we do have an external company that takes care of looking after the people, quarantining, repatriation, the whole thing. As long as the people arrive at the ship having followed our COVID protocols. So that's the key thing, that we're all in this together and we all need to work together. So yes, once you do that, you get your key and you're onto the ship. It's a very quick process. Thankfully, we don't really do queues at check-in because we have small ships and small numbers of guests compared to the larger product. So the process itself was seamless. And bearing in mind we were just the test cruise, the fact that they'd been testing themselves beforehand, it's the fact that they were ready. And everything I've heard since is that the process is working well, and people are actually feeling reassured by it.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned the tests that you don't have to get, but do you get? Most people from South Africa would be traveling beforehand, and they would need their PCR test to get into the country, into the porting country as well.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And then you touched on the buffets and everything. How about the entertainment? How did that work? Is there social distancing, pre-booking? What happens there?
There is, yes. So for instance, in the main theatre, we've got the as you would find in most theatres these days, the markings on the alternate seats and on groups of seats. So we'll have blocks of 2 seats, 4 seats that for families can sit in, or families like elder families, because children obviously won't have the vaccine yet, so they can't travel. But where if you've got 2 couples traveling together, they can sit together. So we've got these blocks of 2, blocks of 4, so that you can actually probably get about 35% capacity in the show lounge. And obviously that will increase as we go further on and as regulations change. And the great thing with that process, it's just a bunch of stickers, so you can take them off if and when things ease up. So the lounges, again, we've spaced the tables out, we've removed some furniture so that there is more space between tables. And again, people don't take the mask off until they're seated, and they sit in a seated, spaced fashion, so that nobody is too close to each other. So it's just maintaining that feeling of space and awareness of our fellow guests that is the key thing. And if anything, it makes for an even more relaxed experience because you've got that much more space.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just 2 more questions. So the one is, I'd like to know, what was your best thing on board that moment, that cocktail that you had, or that drink, or that meal, or what was the best thing that you did on board?
Oh God. Okay, so I mean, I was very busy when we were on board. It was meeting after meeting, and it was. I mean, but it was great. 2 things. Firstly, bumping into one of the longest standing maitre d's that we have, called Boris, and seeing him after so long, that was just, it was brilliant. It was like seeing a brother after so long. As far as the cruising experience is concerned, I would say it has to be, I was lucky enough to have dinner in La Reserve on the last night, and we had the La Bourgeoise menu, which is Jacques Pepin's signature menu. This is your fine food and wine pairing menu with 7 courses, 7 different wines, and it was, oh God, it was just absolutely stunning. And I just sat there at that moment thinking, this is it. This is what we do, and this is why we do it. And it was, again, I've been in the industry for well over 30 years now, and I've always felt passionate about cruising, and I get on board the ships and it reminds me why.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's awesome to hear that, and obviously looking forward for everything to come back to normal and us traveling as well. Just to finalize, or to finish off, obviously Vista launched yesterday to the market.
Yes.
We're seeing your awesome shirt that you Tell us how that launch went, and yeah, tell us a bit more.
Yeah, so things are looking really good moving forward. I mentioned about the problematic starts for the different countries with different policies. Moving forward in the long term, things are looking very, very optimistic, very, very positive. And we had a great launch yesterday. We've been doing these launches over a period of time now, so we're well prepared, and our business partners, our travel agent partners, were great at getting in there and contacting guests in advance. We haven't had a new ship in 8 years. When Serena came back, she was being reintroduced into the fleet. So that was like a soft launch. So we haven't had a real launch of a new ship since Riviera. And it's great to actually see this. After 8 years of waiting, we have this great opportunity. And Vista looks absolutely stunning. She's an evolution of the O-class and the R-class ships. And if you remember, Oceania is a story. It's not just a cruise product. There is a story behind it, and everyone involved in Oceania, whether it's our senior management team, our shore-based, our ship-based, or our guests, or our travel partners as well. We are one big family, and it has this great feeling about it that everyone wants to stay in touch. They want to know what's going on, and the excitement around Vista has been something else. And it's followed on from some great launches that we've had recently. I mean, we had the Around the World cruise on Insignia, sold out in a day. We had our previous launch, the winter launch, again, broke all records. And from what I'm seeing in the early results from the Vista launch, it's looking very strong indeed. And I think the main thing to really put out there for our guests and our travel agent partners is that we're at a time when demand is exceptionally high.
Yeah.
As well as that, people are buying bucket shop experiences. So they're buying longer itineraries. People are buying nicer cars. They're basically saying, I've been starved of life for 18 months. I want to treat myself. When I go out to dinner now, personally, when I go out to dinner, I'm going to restaurants that I would normally go once every 6 months. I'm going every month because I want that experience. And it's a case of giving yourself something to really expunge all of the challenges and the hard work and the pain of the last 18 months. And again, we're finding the top suites are selling first, the longer itineraries are selling first, and people are treating themselves. And I would say that why not? Just make sure that you're in touch with us as soon as you think about it, because we're already seeing for 22 and beyond, we're seeing space fill. We're doing great for 22. Prices have increased. And I would say there that whereas you've seen in some places prices increasing extortionately high, ours are just returning towards the level that they should naturally be at. We reduced them when we launched 22, and they're now rising to where they should comfortably be fitting, bearing in mind the quality of service and product that we deliver to the guest. So I would just say, if you're thinking about it, don't wait. We have a fully refundable deposit. We have a best price guarantee, and you have total peace of mind with us. If you wait, I fear that you might not get what you want.
Yeah. No, definitely. Thank you very much, Bernie. Thank you very much for your time. And we're obviously looking forward to seeing how everything gets back to normal and all the cruising and everything happens again.
And hopefully we'll have a catch up in a couple of months, and we can update you further.
Definitely. We will.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thanks for joining us this week. Look out for our next episode. And if you have any questions on anything that we discussed or need more info, just email me, Roland@devprompt.co.za, or get in touch via social media. Thanks, and see you next time.